Good evening. I am your host, Shamika Rhymes, and welcome to Soulibration. Thank you all for hanging in with us. We're just a little behind, but you knew we were still coming, so don't worry. We're going to deliver a great show tonight. So let me know in the chat where you are watching from and how you're doing this evening. Remember to share this with your network, and if you have any questions at all tonight, drop it in the chat because you guys are the co-hosts. So tonight we're talking about what if true healing doesn't start at the pharmacy, but instead in the mirror. Have you ever thought about that? We don't always heal the outside. We've got to heal the inside. But anyway, tonight we're going to explore the deeper meaning of self care. We're going to go beyond bubble baths and buzzwords and dive into what it really means to be fulfilled. We're talking about emotional healing, lifestyle shifts, and the kind of personal transformation that comes from within. We're also going to talk about how to build intentional wellness habits, reconnect with joy, and tap into the resilience and healing potential that already lives inside you. So, whether you're navigating burnout, grief, heartache, or just feeling stuck, or just, I know I saw some people talking about Mercury retrograde, took you through it. So, whatever it is you're going through, hopefully tonight we can offer a dose of hope and clarity, one prescription at a time, right? So, take a breath. I'm going to give you a minute to go run and get your journal so you can take notes, and then you're going to come running back and join us for a soul level conversation. But I'm going to also introduce you to tonight's guest. Dr. Bernadette Anderson is a well-loved and highly regarded medical expert, thought leader, and visionary, as well as the creator of Life in Harmony. And she has been in healthcare for over 20 years. And she's also the author of the guidebook, Fulfilled: 52 Prescriptions for Healing, Health, and Happiness. Let's bring on Dr. Anderson.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining. So, when you think about where most people are with self-care, because there's a lot going on in the world today, what do you think people are missing when it comes to self-care?
So, what I think we all agree that we need to have self-care. And
Mhm.
so it's not the effort. Where I think people are missing is the depth. You said it a little bit earlier. We need to have true intentionality when it comes to self-care. We need to move beyond the checklist of, scheduling the appointment for the facial, getting the bubble bath in, or a yoga class. And I am not saying that these things are not a part of self-care, but we need to move to a deeper, more nurturing aspect of self-care that occurs on a daily basis so that we can, reclaim our mental space. I see so often that, we're dealing in this chaotic state and very stressful state. And so we want to be able to reclaim that mental space. And we want to be able to move from just the aesthetics of self-care to, really delving deep and see to that uncomfortable space sometimes, because self-care really isn't pretty all the time. Sometimes it's about owning that thought, or finding the root of that thought, and dealing with those things that are really tagging at our soul. So just, I think where people are most missing is just that depth when it comes to self-care.
I would agree. I think it was a few weeks ago we were talking about, there was a mention of self-care, and it made me realize, like you said, like, okay, yes, go to yoga, go get my hair done every other week, and go get my nails done every couple of weeks. But it's like, I still, even though I'm doing those things, I'm still anxious, or I'm
Yes.
still like going
Mhm.
through my checklist. If I got to do this, I got to do this. There's not a pause
Yes,
in it at all.
exactly.
So that brings me to the next question. So what does slowing down actually look like in real life to really take stock of those things that you mentioned, especially for those people that they have just insane schedules and feel like they don't have time for self-care?
When we say slow down, I think people automatically think it means being less productive, and it
Mhm.
doesn't. Slowing down simply means being present. We're so often thinking about something that occurred yesterday, something that might occur tomorrow, but to really take a breath and just, I call them like the micro pauses, the 30, 60-second check in with yourself, just something simple as making a cup of coffee or that cup of tea, and being present during that process, seeing the water fill the canister, the water changing colors, holding on to that cup and feeling the warmth and smelling the aroma. And seeing how your body responds when you're drinking your tea or your coffee. Something that simple as walking to the mailbox and feeling your feet on the ground. It's not that complicated. We
Mhm.
make it more complicated. And I would like for us to really use our daily routines, things we do every single day, but just take them a little bit deeper. So self-care doesn't have to be pricey, and it doesn't have to be another to-do task on a long list of things you already have to do.
Yeah, because I know one of the things I started doing in the mornings is open the door, step outside, let the sun just hit me in the face for 5
Yes.
minutes, and before I have to go deal with a micromanager. But for 5 minutes, just give me my peace.
Yes.
We often talk a lot about healing emotionally and physically, but how are those two connected in your view?
So here's the thing, we're not just a physical being. So when we have something going on mentally, it often is echoed in our body physically. So we can see it through anxiety, headaches and stomach pain. So they are very interconnected. Many times I see patients and they come in with a physical complaint, but we've run all kind of tests, done all kind of labs, and there's nothing there. And then that's when we say, hey, let's look a little bit deeper and see what else is going on. Have you experienced excess stress lately? Are you feeling more anxious about something? So the thing is, we try to disconnect them, but that's the problem. They are interconnected. And so we have to address the person, the entire person. I think that's one of the things that sometimes medicine is lacking in. We just want to deal with the physical aspect of the person, but it's impossible to really completely heal a person without addressing the mind, body, and the spirit.
Well, that's interesting that you bring that up. I was listening to a podcast earlier, and I'm so sorry. It was the first time I can't remember the name of it. I just stumbled upon it, and what caught my attention is the young lady was talking about how she in her 20s had really bad acne. Nothing would take care of it. It didn't matter how many medicines they gave her until she actually started going to therapy and digging deeper
Mhm.
into it. And as she realized the root cause of whatever her issue was, the acne started to clear up. And she said she's 40 something now, and she said she hasn't had acne since. So I think
Wow.
that shows that it's things are connected, y'all.
Absolutely.
So how can we create some space? Say you're having a rough work day. How can we find some space, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just to find a little bit of joy and happiness in the middle of the day, especially or in between meetings or anything like that? What are your
I
suggestions?
think one of the things that we have to be able to understand is that, joy does not just occur in a what we would term a perfect environment, right? It can exist
Mhm.
alongside chaos and stress. And so joy is that thing that we have to make a choice to invite into our lives despite what is going on. So what is that thing that brings you joy? Is it, taking a Pilates class or reading a book? So no matter what is going on in your life, you want to go back to the basics and include those things. I find that a lot of us will go off track or get a little bit more stressed out is because we leave those things that bring us joy and we are consumed by the things that bring us stress. So just tapping into that, what is it that really kind of turns that light on and makes that soul leap in? Hold on to those things no matter what is going on, because you have to remember that whatever is going on usually is very temporary.
Absolutely. I know one of my favorite things to do now is on YouTube, I'll find a DJ playing some 90s music
Yes.
and then I will have a whole little dance party. Forget I'm even working and I'm at the club in my house.
I know, right? I can sing in my house.
Yes. I have a whole world tour in here. Let me know in the chat, y'all, what you do to find those pockets of joy throughout the day, or how you practice self care. Because I'm curious to see what your answers are. And I do see some people checking in. I see Gastonia, Asheville, Lawrenceville, Charlotte. I see you guys. Let's see here. And if you have any questions, please drop those in the chat as well. Now, your book, Fulfilled 52 Prescriptions for Healing, Health, and Happiness, gives people a roadmap kind of guide towards living more intentionally. Can you talk about what inspired you to write the book?
So I really believe this book is more like a spiritual assignment for me. And each one of those prescriptions in the book, they're doctor tested by me. They're the things that I use to transform my own life. And what
Mhm.
I realized as a physician dealing with patients in the clinical setting is that they shared some of the same struggles that I had. And I wanted to be able to give my patients more than just a diagnosis, but also be able to help them live fully, mind, body, and spirit. And so this book, Fulfilled 52 Prescriptions for Healing, Health, and Happiness, is that guidance. It's that roadmap. It's like having me on call. Uh, and so
Mhm.
that you could just flip into the book and read on a particular topic and then just go straight to the prescriptions and transform your life. The intention of the book was to be a guide, but for you or the reader to use it as a transformation tool on a personal level.
I like the play on prescriptions, and I don't know if you saw the title of this, but I had to play on that the prescription.
Yes.
But it's such a clever, play on because you are a physician. What made you decide like this is the way to do this book? Because I love it. I'm a writer too, so I
Right.
absolutely love that.
So, it kind of naturally came because I'm a physician. But what I know about prescriptions is that once you write a prescription, people tend to react to whatever you said differently. Now it has
Mhm.
become more serious. So I wanted people to feel that way about each one of the prescriptions, that they are essential. They are just like the ones that you would get from a doctor's appointment, and you don't have to take them to the pharmacy. You just got to go inward
Mhm.
to get the benefits of these particular prescriptions. But I wanted to make sure that they didn't think that this was any less than what you will
Yeah.
receive at your doctor's appointment.
So, can you give us just a couple of examples of what we could find in the book?
Yes. So one of the prescriptions, or a couple of prescriptions that people really sort of come back to me about, is one is setting boundaries, and the other one is forgiveness and the art of forgiveness. And personally, the forgiveness one really was like the cornerstone for me, because I didn't realize how stuck I was in life, holding on to things from the past, and also not forgiving myself for some of the things that I had done. So forgiveness allowed me to be kind to myself and be more compassionate towards myself. And then it opened up this space where I could really invite myself to live fully. The other one, setting boundaries, look, we all want to say yes to everything. We
Mhm.
overextend ourselves. And
Yeah.
I mean, we always saying yes, yes, yes. But when you do that, you're actually saying no to you. So
Mm.
the boundaries one is very tough because it's kind of we've been taught that that's rude. You shouldn't, you just got to say yes. But it's not rude, because you should be saying yes to the things that align with you and in your intentions. And you can kindly say, hey, I appreciate you for thinking of me, but I'm not going to be able to do that, and move on.
I think that both of those are huge, and we've talked about definitely boundaries before. I think it was
Yes.
around Christmas, especially holidays and boundaries. We definitely talked about that then. But forgiveness is one we haven't really tapped into. Can we just go down that rabbit hole for a second? Because also
Okay.
going back to the podcast I listened to earlier, the guest that was on that show was talking about for her, she realized one of her issues was she was being so judgmental of herself because she was whatever age and she wasn't married yet. And I thought, huh, so not only do you have to kind of forgive yourself for being so
Mhm.
judgmental, so they kind of play in hand. And but how do you forgive yourself and stop being so judgmental?
I think when you realize that it definitely is a choice,
Mhm.
and a lot of the prescriptions is about really showing people we are making choices, conscious choices. For me, I held on to unforgiveness because, I don't want to forgive somebody for hurting me. None of us, right? We don't want
Right.
to feel like we're letting someone off the hook. But what I realized about forgiveness was it's not about letting someone else off the hook, it's about freeing myself so that I can move on. It's not about them, it's about me. I learned with the forgiveness, that to take my eyes off the person, take my eyes off of the situation, and deal with the emotion that I'm struggling with. So
Mhm.
for me, one of the emotions that I struggled with was feeling neglected. So once I realized that it's not about, who did it, or, what the situation was, but if I could understand where that neglect was coming from and the root of that, then I can move on regardless of whether or not I received an apology. It's not about apologies, because my soul needed me to move on regardless of whether I got an apology or not.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. So I know we mentioned it a little bit earlier. Say you're holding on to just being angry at somebody, that resentment, knowing you should just go ahead and forgive
Yes.
for yourself. What kind of physical manifestations can happen if you're just holding on to that for so long?
Well, for me, it allowed me to get over 300 pounds
Mhm.
because I use food instead of letting go. So there was no, I mean, I thought Haagen-Dazs was going to be my answer to freedom. And uh, you have to look at what habits or what are you doing. For some people, it could be drinking or
Mhm.
smoking or being, involved in bad relationships. What are you doing instead of forgiving? Because that habit that you're creating could be far worse than forgiving that person, because now you're inflicting pain upon yourself.
Yeah. So is that why I know I'm going all left field here,
That's
but
okay.
is that why when you there is an emotional issue going on and you go to the doctor because there's a physical thing, is that why sometimes they can't figure out what something is or what the cause of it is? It's because it's actually emotional. And they may just give you, I can't tell you how many different creams and things. I have so many, and none of the stuff was working, but it was that whole like, just I don't even know what that emotional thing was at that time, but
Yes,
I think of heartache. But it was
right.
just this, they just kept shoving creams at me, like, oh, just put that on your face, just put this there, just put, and it wasn't working.
Right. I think we have to do our due diligence. We're
Yeah,
going to do the lab work. We're going to order the test to make sure that there's no physical pathology that's going on. But
yeah.
once we've done all of that, then we as a clinician have to step back and say, okay, what else can be causing this? Is this person having some anxiety, depression? Is this person experiencing some stress? Are they holding on to something or not willing to share something with us? So, and that's the you need to really, I can't stress this enough, develop a relationship with your physician where you feel comfortable sharing. We are not there to judge you. We really, really want to help you, but we can only help you when we have all of the information. There's nothing wrong with saying, look, I'm having a bad time at work. I'm almost about to be fired at my job. And,
Mhm.
we can understand that and help you. And it really saves you time and gets you closer to a solution rather than us ordering CAT scans and MRIs and taking a whole lot of blood when you kind of already know what the
Yeah.
problem is.
That's very true. And we also talked about advocating for yourself. So you have to speak
Yes.
up and say something, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Self-advocacy is critical when you're dealing with health providers. Even if you think we're not listening to you, sometimes we're thinking about the waiting room and we know how many people we have on our schedule. It's nothing wrong with saying, are you listening to me? I hear what you're saying, but I need to make sure you're understanding what's bothering me. So,
Mhm.
and it's kind of, some physicians feel comfortable dealing with things like emotional stressors, some don't. But if they don't, they should be able to guide you and direct you to someone who can better help you.
Okay. All right. You guys, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. Is there like a specific prescription in the book that you find yourself referring back to often and or that you share personally with yourself or that you say to your patients, like, I think you might want to check out this chapter specifically?
One that I like to is the meditation. We often think, even my family, they think it's just fluff. Like, what's she doing? you know, but It is a time when you can check in with yourself and calm down your day. It is acknowledging that I am important and that I deserve to listen to myself. I had a patient who came into my office and her blood pressure was sky high, and my nurse even came and got me out of the room, and I took her through a simple meditation slash breathing technique, and it was
Mhm,
so awesome to witness her blood pressure drop by 15 points and just doing something like that. These
mhm,
are real tools. They really do work, but they only work if they become a practice. We can't have a problem, run to meditation or run to a breathing technique or something one
mhm,
time and try to hurry up and get it together and think it's going to change our lives. These tools have to be a practice, something that you weave um, into your daily life, not something that and you don't make a big deal about them. They're not that complicated. Just
yeah,
make them work for you because
mhm,
for me now, I kind of can tell when my anxiety is going up in the office and I'm able to step back and say, hey, you know what? I just want to do a 4-7-8 breathing technique for a few seconds so that I can
mhm,
calm myself down and get back focused. And
mhm.
I just love it. I love that I'm able to control my own emotions. I'm able to set the tone for my life and what I want it to be like.
Okay. What is that breathing technique you just mentioned?
So it's called 4-7-8. So we inhale to the count of 4 and we
Mhm.
hold that breath to the count of 7 and we completely let it out to the count of 8. And I usually do that for about 3 cycles. And it's so cool because you never leave your breath at home. It's always with you, right?
Right, exactly.
And
You have no excuses.
right. And it doesn't take a lot of room or you don't have to set up a mat. I have even done it in the presence of a patient and they don't even know that I'm doing it. So it's
Oh,
my way of saying, I get to control my emotions. I get to decide what this day is going to be like for me.
I was trying to do it and I was like, well, I have to speak now. Like- but yeah, I do agree. Meditation has, I was going to a meditation class and after a work day, that was 30 minutes where you're just, it's quiet. Yes, you're in a room with other people, but it's quiet.
Yes,
Half the time I would fall asleep, but it was like maybe my body needed that.
absolutely. It's okay. And even if your mind wanders, let it wander and then just kind of gently bring it back to the present. I mean, I think we just struggle so much and we want everything to be so perfect. Life is not perfect. And once you
Yeah.
realize that, you can live it then.
That's true. That's true. Now, a lot of people feel like they're stuck in survival mode or stuck in fight or flight all the time. Um, what are your what is your advice to help them feel like they can move into a space of like they're thriving, they're okay?
Yeah, I think once you get some tools under your belt, like your personal toolkit, I'm really serious about this. It has to be a personal toolkit. Those things that you know that can really help you stay on track. And then you use them when you feel yourself getting, oh wow, I'm feeling uneasy.
Mhm.
Those things, journaling. I do journaling every night before I go to bed. And listen, you're not writing a book. Who cares if the grammar is wrong? Just brain dump for a second so you don't carry that stress to bed.
Right.
Something as simple as that, doodling, adult coloring books. Adults, we are allowed to play and have fun too. It's not
Mhm.
just for children, right? Those little things like that, it keeps the joy in your life, it keeps the
Yeah.
stress down, it helps you feel like I can manage my life.
Mhm.
Stress is going to happen. That's
Yeah.
that's just a given. And we don't have control over when it's going to happen or how much of it that we're going to be under. But we do have control over our reaction to it. And I know we've heard people say that before, but when you
Mhm.
have your personal, I call it my self a care toolkit, and it just opens up automatically, you really are able to control that stress so that it doesn't overwhelm you. There's nothing wrong with stress. It's when it overwhelms you and then your blood pressure is up and your
Mhm.
diabetes is out of control because stress does have a physical effect on your body.
Absolutely. So I was thinking they were talking about like the adult coloring books. Like it seems like when I go back to trying to do those childhood activities I love, it stresses me out so bad. Like because you're wanting to be perfect when you're coloring, and you're not like a kid. You just don't care if you're inside the lines. But as an adult, you're like, color this piece
You
of
know,
us. Use
you
it.
know what though? It's interesting. I went to an art therapy class and I was, coloring like you said, all in the lines, and I thought my picture was so pretty. And then and then the instructor, he said to me, "Why did you stay in the lines?" And I was like, "Well, he said, why don't you just go back to your 2-year-old self where you didn't care?" And I was like, "What?" So then he gave me a blank sheet of paper with some paint. And I'm telling you, I felt like I was a kid again. I didn't care. I'm horrible at any type of drawing. Paint was everywhere. I put some little sparkles on it. I still have that because it represents my ability to let go. You don't have to
Yeah.
control everything. It's not about coloring a perfect picture. In fact, I would advise people to get more of sketch paper so that you're not going to be inclined to want to color in the lines.
Yeah.
Just doodle.
I also was trying to think what else. One of the things that I love, and you guys in the chat, let me know what you do when you tap back into your childhood. Is I like watching some of the cartoons and things like Gem and the Holograms. And one night it was the middle of the night, and I was like, I wonder if the Littles is streaming. And so I found it, and I was just as happy as I don't know what at 2 a.m. watching those cartoons.
Yes. I think it's just allowing yourself to be in the moment. We have so much on our minds, but just allowing yourself, if you hear me say nothing else tonight, learn to be present. What happened yesterday, it already happened. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Don't worry
Mhm.
about it. Let tomorrow worry about itself, okay? Just concentrate on now. And I'm not saying that that's a simple thing to do. I constantly have to remind myself, be present. Just be present, because when I'm present, I'm at my best. And I'm not, I'm able to give my patients my best. I'm able to give my family my best. When I'm all over the map, you noticed.
So, well, it sounds like you've already sort of answered this next question, like what self-care looks like for you right now in the season of your life. What does that look like?
Yeah. You know, self-care for me right now isn't so much about what I do, it's about how I show up for myself. You know,
Mhm.
it's about really giving myself some grace. Um, I'm just in a season of my life where I'm just going to do my best, and whatever that best is today, that's what it's going to be. And if the
Amen.
best tomorrow, my best might be something different. But I am going to give myself the grace and the chance to just sort of enjoy that freedom, to love on myself, to ask myself, how do you feel, Bernadette? And if
Mhm.
I'm not feeling well, what can I do in this moment to change that feeling? I mean,
Mhm.
if you're not feeling well, it doesn't have to go on all day long, It's
Right.
sometimes just I know at my office, sometimes I'll just go out the back door, like you said earlier, just stand in the sun for a second and say, okay,
Mhm.
all right, let me just get a better attitude. Let me be more
Yeah.
positive in my thinking, And that it sort of it re-energizes me. It gives me, okay, let's look at this another way and have a different perspective. So it's not what I do, it's the way in which I show up for myself. And I love it. I
Mhm.
really love the way I show up for myself now, because it's not about the other person. It's not so much about their feelings. It's about my feelings and what's
Mhm.
important to me and how I feel right now.
I love that. How long did it take you to get to that space of being able to say it's about you and putting you first? Really is ultimately what it ends up being. You're putting yourself first.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm gonna be very honest. It took a long time, okay, because I never wanted to disappoint anyone, and so I was always the yes. Okay, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it, and then
Yeah.
I realized I'm taking care of everybody but me. I'm
Mhm.
over here broke down, but
Mhm.
I'm taking care of everybody else.
Yeah.
So now my family and friends, they say, before you say no, can you listen to the whole thing? Because it's powerful to be able to say no without an explanation. I don't have time to go into long explanations. It's just no today.
Yeah, I think someone posted on my Facebook page the other day, no is a complete sentence, because I was trying
Yes.
to explain something about my nail and why I didn't like it and all this stuff and why I was afraid to tell the lady that did it. And it was like, no, all you had to say was no, period.
Yes. Exactly. realize that people, they're okay with it and they still get it done.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for those listening, if they could take away one nugget from this entire conversation, what would that be? I know you mentioned something, but I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add to
Yeah.
that.
I would say be present and really engage in self-love. It is
Mhm,
okay to love yourself. It is not about being selfish. It's about allowing yourself the freedom and the opportunity to fully engage. And you deserve that. We all deserve that. Um, we're so worried about people thinking, "Oh, she's selfish." You're not selfish. You are loving yourself, and when I love myself well, I'm able to give more and to share more with other people. When I'm not good to me, it's kind of hard for me to then be super to
mhm.
someone else, right? So
Yeah.
just self-love and being present, because when you're present today, you're able to take advantage of what's happening right now and not
Mhm.
feel so stuck in life. We often feel stuck because we are stuck looking back or looking forward and not being present.
Woo! That right there. And I just fixed my lips yesterday to say I feel stuck, but that's it. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I was looking too far into the future.
Too far into the future. And the half of the things we worry about, they don't even happen. So, like, what a waste of
Exactly.
time.
Let's see. We have a comment from Lapri. She says, "My takeaway is just to allow yourself to be free and live outside the lines and be present. Let what happened tomorrow work itself out because tomorrow is a new day." I like that, Lapri.
That's it. That is
Yeah,
it.
yeah, you got it,
And when you do
Lapri.
that, you protect your health, right? We protect our physical and mental health when we do things like that. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Do you have time for like maybe one more question or well,
Sure.
two more questions? Okay. So I wanted to
Absolutely.
just ask real quick about the self-love thing because I think sometimes when people think self-care, they forget the self-love aspect of it. So can you explain
Hmm.
how they work hand in hand?
Hmm. Because when we think about, again, I really can't stress this enough. When we think about self-care, please, we got to go deeper than the superficial stuff that we're doing. We got to really sometimes be uncomfortable with taking care of ourselves, because when you get to that uncomfortable space, that's when you really are taking care of your mental and spiritual health. And self-love is that grace, that allowing yourself to go there, deserving to be there, regardless of what other people say. You don't need validation to love yourself. Nobody can tell you how. No one can tell me how to love Bernadette better than Bernadette can tell me. I know what I need, and I can acknowledge those things that I need, and I don't have to explain those things. And my needs change from day to day, from month to month, and it's okay for me to change those things. So self love and self care go hand in hand, and the more you love yourself, the more you take care of yourself.
Mhm. Absolutely. Lapria has taken all kinds of notes in the chat. I love it. She said, "I love no is a complete sentence. We always think we owe someone an explanation, and actually we don't." That's right.
That's right.
I'm just gonna be walking around. No, no,
Exactly.
no.
Yeah, get you a t-shirt. Get a t-shirt and point to your t-shirt.
Right. No. This has been so great. But for my last question, and I'm after listening to you, I'm wondering if I know the answer. I always say that to these to guests because I'm like, I feel like I get to know you a little bit. But what
Yes.
feeds your soul?
Oh, wow. I would say what feeds my soul is faith, family, and friends, because they remind me of why I do what I do, and they help me have a deeper connection. I mean,
Mhm,
I wake up, you know, the first thing I want to acknowledge is my faith, that I have a higher power and that I trust God with my direction for my life. So that's really important to me. And I love my family. They are amazing. They get on my nerves sometimes, but they they're amazing. I have so many beautiful nieces and I really enjoy them. And I love being an example for them. So I really, and my friends actually, they become family, and there's nothing that I wouldn't do for them. And it's so important that we always are checking in. So that's my loop: faith, family, and friends.
Okay, I love that. Well, let everybody know where they can find your book.
Yes, you can find my book at Barnes and Nobles, Amazon if you're using the Amazon, but definitely Barnes and Nobles. You can find it there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting. I know that I'm going to be making sure I do some self-care and say no. I
Yes.
can't wait. I mean, I got to make sure I don't use it at work too often, but no. Set
But
those
you know, we want
boundaries.
to take care of ourselves at work. It makes us more productive while we're there, right?
Right, it does. It does. It does. Yeah. So oh, Lapree's asking what's the name of the book again?
It's called Fulfilled 52 Prescriptions for Healing, Health, and Happiness.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much. You'll have to come back.
Oh, I
And
will.
oh yeah, everybody's asking, what's the name of the book? What's the name of the book? I'll try to come in the chat and write it in there in just a few minutes, y'all, so that you have it. Um, for more information on self-care and self-love and healing from within, you can head over to blackdoctor.org and search for articles and resources there. And coming up on Soulibration, do y'all remember at the beginning of the year, Coach Erica had me working on a vision board and I kept mentioning General Hospital. Well, y'all, it's coming next week. My General Hospital crush is coming to Soulibration. I'm super excited. Donnell Turner
Wow.
will be here and he's going to be talking about staying fit and healthy over 50. And you don't want to miss this. And I'm going to try to get my fangirl under control. So you guys have a soul filled rest of the week and I will see you next Wednesday. Have a good night. Let's see. I think we're still live. Hold on just a second.